כאשר את עצמי בשיחה זו לכל צדיקים הנתים שעברנו לכל צדיקים תמשך ניאופו קדושים שרצים אחרות רבינו הקדוש סביק סדר נחני במקום ובני נחמן נצאים במפגס בפני אדון עלינו על כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. Remember a couple months ago we gave a share about Mashiach and we gave a whole current event share based on Ramazim, so the Olam asked for another one, and I'm thinking about maybe even giving a series for next few weeks to talk about how Mashiach is the imminent arrival of Mashiach, mamish, any second. And the reason why I want to talk about Mashiach so much is, well, we spoke about the first share also, we spoke about what the Baal Shem Tov says, the Baal Shem Tov says that wherever a person's mind is where he is. So a person whose mind is with Mashiach and he talks about it, when you talk about it, you think about it. The more you think about it, the more you end up with him, the more you want him, the more we can bring him closer to us. But also, Rebbe Nachman writes on Kutam Ran in Chelik Aleph, Rebbe Nachman writes in Torah Aleph over there, a famous thing, Rebbe Nachman writes, Da. We know that we said from the Anash that in Breslev is a Messiah handed down. Whenever Rebbe Nachman writes Da, he's bringing in a concept, a huge holy concept from the highest of worlds, from Atzilus. The world of Atzilus, which is a tremendous spiritual high world. And he writes over there that the job of every Jew in this world is to look for the seichel in each thing that happens to him and everything that's around him. That means to say that everything that happens to a person, each individual person, the reality, to each person has his own reality. What happens is, we have to look into the seichel of the things that happen. What is the seichel? So Nachman writes, it's the godliness in it, because everything is really just a cover-up of God. It's a manifestation of godliness. What do I mean to say? So Rebbe Nachman Wasserman, from the biggest Talmud of the Chofetz Chaim, which we'll bring him later on a little bit on, but he writes in his Sefer Ikvas of the Mashiach that the reason why to talk about Mashiach and all that is because we have to talk about what's going on around us. Gog and Magog and all these big wars that are going to be and all these things, and we have to look at these things and say this is what's going on, and we have to do what's our part to look into the seichel on each thing and understand how it connects to me personally. What's interesting is there's a famous question. There's a question that says, how am I allowed to start making cheshbonis calculations about Mashiach comes? The Gemara says you're not allowed to. So there's two answers that I usually say over. One of the answers is that we're not talking about so much the calculations about, we're saying that it's most probably, we're not saying 100%, but because it's most probably the job, what is our job? So this really works with Rav Nachman's Zohar, that everything that's around us, we have to mamish look at and see the elikus in it, the godliness in it, and look at the world, what's going on, which we're going to get into to show how everything is coming to this idea. That is the one thing. Also, Reb Shimon Schwab writes in a sefer Beis HaSheva, it's a sefer that he wrote about Mashiach and many different things. He writes the same idea. He says that even though the Rambam says you're not allowed to think about what's going to be about Mashiach and all that, but of course the last days that you do have to think about. That the Rambam doesn't say. That's where we're in now, the last days, which is Gog and Magog and all the things that lead up to Mashiach, which is happening as we speak. The other thing is the Malbim writes, he doesn't learn that way. The Malbim learns that you're allowed to think about the calculations, either Rambam and the Gemara and all that. He says, he has a parable. He says there was a child that went on a trip with his father. They went out to sea. They went on a ship. 5 minutes into the trip, son asked the father, are we there yet? Like every child. The father screams at him, gives him a slap, says, what are you asking me? Okay. They continue going. 3 days later, the father turns to the captain of the ship and he says, excuse me, are we there yet? How long? The kid says, you're doing the same thing as I am. The father says, you don't understand. The trip is a long trip. The fact that you ask me after 5 minutes, that's stupid. So you have to learn to have patience. But now that I know that we're so close, so I'm just wondering if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes away. So Malbim says, in the times that Rambam all that, they were so far from Mashiach. What does that mean? There's two types of Mashiach. So one Mashiach is Be'ita, and it's time, one is Achishana. Achishana is that if we do tshuva and everything will come any second. So that nobody knows because it all depends on us. Be'ita, there's a certain time that even if we're not zeicha to it, the Rebbe Nachman is going to force harsh decrees on us, and we're going to have to do tshuva because of that, and it's going to come. The Bible says that is already now. All the Nevi'im and everything that we see, and all the Zohar and all that is pointing to these years. So there, we're like the father, that it's okay for us to make cheshbonis already and ask when is it coming and talk about it. What's interesting is there's a video going around now of a kid that had a clinical death, 15-year-old kid on Sukkot, and I recommend everybody to watch this video. You can find it on YouTube. If you type it in Hebrew, you type in Hebrew Mavet, which is Mem Vav Vav Taf, and Klini, which is Kuf Lamed Yud Nun Yud, and you'll see Ben Chameshes. Over there you'll see a video of a kid that experienced, and he saw, and he said, and he tells his whole experience. And there's a tzaddik named Reb Dov Cook, who's from the biggest Mukabalim, Baal Shem Tov, Ari Hakadosh. He lives in Syria. He said that it's 100% a real story, and everybody should be mafetz the story. Today, a friend of mine sent me. I saw that a friend of mine was very close to a tremendous Mukabal, who is Baal Shem Tov. His name is Rav Shani, Rabbi Yosef Shani, who was a grandson of, who was the head of tzaddikim. He's a grandson of one of the, who was the head of tzaddikim, Rav Chacham Menashe. Menachem was famous. He said also that this story is 100%, and we have a mitzvah to be mafetz the story. And the kid says how really Gog Magog started already. This whole thing that's in Syria now with the Russians and all that, this is Gog Magog. And Mashiach is going to be coming in the next few months, he said. And he says that Mashiach is somebody who is a chozer b'tshuva, who himself came did tshuva. And from his tshuva, he never did one avera. And people will be very surprised when they find out who Mashiach is, because he's very, very well known, but it will still be a shock. And he goes through what's going to be about atomic bombs and things like that, but that's not really, because you can watch it by yourself, so I'm not going to spend time. It's on YouTube, and it's the tzaddikim have been saying it's a real story, and it's something that tzaddikim have verified. Now, what's interesting is that, so we're going to talk about a few things now that maybe we spoke about last year, but maybe we're going to magnify it a little bit, bring it out even more, and then we're going to add on other things. Like I said, I want to start from the beginning because I want to do a series. So I'm going to start, maybe start again a little bit from things that we said, build on it and say other things, and then the next year we'll give another hour, another half, because there's so much. There's 30 hours worth of what I wrote. Every night I've been writing more, so in one night we're not going to be able to cover. It'll take a nice while. I don't know if we'll do everything, but we'll try as much as we can. Now, we said over in the last year, the Nevuah of the Chavetz Chaim. The famous Chavetz Chaim, the Heilig Chavetz Chaim, said that in World War I, his students asked him, because of what was going on, World War I was also very terrible. People forget about it because of World War II, but World War I was also, the Jews were persecuted, and there was pogroms, and there was a world war. It's called World War. He said to them, in 1914, he said that in 25 years, they asked him, is this Gog and Magog? He said no. He said, this is the first part of Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog is this famous war that the Nevi'im talk about that's going to happen from Mashiach, how Gog is going to come, and they're going to come to Eretz Yisrael and capture Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim, and it's all in Yecheskel and Zechariah Navi. But they asked the Chavetz Chaim if this is, he said no, this is just the first part. The second part is going to be exactly in 25 years, which it was, right? 1914 to 1939 is 25 years exactly. The Chavetz Chaim said there's going to be part 2 of Gog and Magog, and part 2 is going to make part 1 look like child's play, as we know that unfortunately what we witnessed, meaning just from hearing stories and we witnessed from some of us from our grandparents and people's friends and all that, the Holocaust. And it's going to make the First World War child's play, and then there's going to be the third part, because we said it's 3, and that's going to be, when is that going to be? We're going to say that right now. All the different Messiahs, all the different traditions about what Chavetz Chaim said. We said then that Chavetz Chaim said that there's going to be 3 parts. So the first week we just said, he had Nevuah, complete prophecy that was going to be in 25 years later, exactly 25 years later. And he said that there's going to be a 3rd part. Now there's a big Rosh Yeshiva in America that was nifter a couple years ago, but a while ago, Rebbe Nachman was from Gedolei Ador in America. He was Rosh Yeshiva in Philadelphia. He was a tremendous tzaddik. He was a student of Rav Aaron Kotler, who was Rav Aaron Kotler, from the biggest holy tzaddikim. Now, Abel Yisvei went to a Chanukas yeshiva when they made a Chanukas Habayis. They built a new building for the yeshiva of South Fallsburg, which is upstate New York. That Rebbe Nachman of Breslev was also a tremendous tzaddik. And in the speech, he said over this Chavetz Chaim, that Chavetz Chaim said the first part is going to be the World War I, and then World War II is the second part. This is brought down. Rebbe Eliyahu Lapian wrote this 50 years ago. Rebbe Nachman writes it. But Rebbe Yisvei added on there. Aaron Kotler told me that when the Chavetz Chaim said the 3rd part, it's going to be exactly 10 Shemitas. Each Shemitah 7 years, so 70 years exactly from World War II. What's 70 years from World War II, the end of World War II? 1945 till this year, 70 years. 2015. So Rebbe Yisvei, that's what Rebbe Yisvei said. So we see that this is what Rebbe Yisvei said, that the Chavetz Chaim said that it's going to be 70 years, 10 Shemitos. Now, first of all, so the question arises, somebody's going to say, how do I know it's true and all that? So the answer is, first of all, not even, no, we believe the Chavetz Chaim said it because there's a Messiah. The question is, why should I believe the Chavetz Chaim? Other people didn't say it. The answer is, first of all, this is the Chavetz Chaim. Chavetz Chaim was the Gadol Ador. Chavetz Chaim was the biggest tzaddik in his everybody was hands and down. Everybody looked up to the Chavetz Chaim. And second of all, we listen to the Chavetz Chaim because no other tzaddik foresaw exactly World War II to the exact details like he did. He had pure nevuah. He had the level of nevuah. That's what the tzaddikim said. So if the Chavetz Chaim, and when Chavetz Chaim said it, and we saw with our own eyes that in 1914 he said there's going to be a second part in 25 years exactly. In 1939 exactly came out the second part. That's the biggest proof. Also, what's interesting is they asked the Chavetz Chaim, is the whole world going to be destroyed? World War II, he said no, there's a place to run. They asked him where? He said Eretz Yisrael, they're not going to touch Eretz Yisrael. He said Eretz Plato is Eretz Yisrael. What happened? The Germans tried to come and there was Nisan and they couldn't make it. There was one story, they ran out of gas, Ramel in the desert, doesn't matter. Chavetz Chaim saw with his own eyes, because he had open eyes, open nevuah. So if the Chavetz Chaim says to 70 years, it's 70 years. This is Be'ito. Chavetz Chaim said Be'ito is this year. This is what Rebbe Yisvei said over, and Rebbe Chanan also said it. When did Rebbe Chanan say this? Rav Pam, who was Rashiv in Tarvadas, who was also from the big tzaddikim in America, he said when he was in America when Rebbe Chanan Wasserman came to America before World War II. What happened was Rebbe Chanan came to America in the late 1930s, and then he went back because of World War II because he said I can't leave my students, and he was killed and by the Germans. And there's a trend in the story. He was on the train going to Auschwitz, and he gave a whole speech. He gave a big Emunah speech because they knew they were going to die, and Imamish was machazik everybody, and they all went to the gas chambers together. But he was able to stay in America because he knew what was going on, but he didn't because it was a serious nefesh for his students. He told Rav Pam said it over in a shir to guys I know in the yeshivas I learned in Torah when I was a kid. Rav Pam said Rav Chanan told him, said in a shir in Torah that the Chavetz Chaim said that the third part is going to be in 70 years after World War II, in 1945. It's exactly what Rebbe Yisvei said. Exactly. This is Rav Pam, to students, Rav Pam, Kodesh Kodashim, known as a tremendous tzaddik, said over that here from Rav Chanan's mouth. Rav Chanan was the biggest student of Chavetz Chaim. Rav Chanan said, the Chavetz Chaim said, I have this from Ruach HaKodesh from Nevuah. He didn't say, I'm guessing, I'm telling you Nevuah now that, and we see that the first part of Nevuah came clear. And the Chavetz Chaim also said other things. He said also in World War II, you know what he said also about World War II? He said also about World War II that the Germans are going to start losing. Exactly where Russia, exactly they're going to start losing, and where they're going to, exactly to detail what he said. What's interesting is, you don't find any other tzaddik. You know what Chazon Ish said about World War II? Chazon Ish said something amazing. Chazon Ish said, if they would have been megala to me before World War II, about World War II, I would have been me, myself, singular person, I would have been able to daven and to erase the whole gzera, the whole decree. That was a koich of tefillah Chazon Ish. Understand? He would have saved millions, but they hid it from him. Chavetz Chaim, he was nifter in 1933. 25 years before, he saw it. This was Chavetz Chaim. Chavetz Chaim was Chavetz Chaim. There's actually another story. Rabbi Armi Belz also said that before World War II, he couldn't find the crack. There was nothing. It was dark. All the skies. They didn't let him know about anything. See, the biggest tzaddikim. That's why Chavetz Chaim, you listen to Chavetz Chaim. You know what I mean? Not that you have to bring proofs to listen to Chavetz Chaim, just showing how Imam saw everything. The Maisa with the Divrei Chaim sons, who was in way before World War II, tzaddikim said that he came to him. He came to them in a dream and asked, "Why are people crying by my kever?" So tzaddikim told him in a dream they're crying because of what's going on in the world. He asked, "What's going on?" He was in Gan Eden, and they hid it from the tzaddikim in Gan Eden what was going to happen down here. But the Chavetz Chaim saw, and now the Chavetz Chaim is saying 70 years. Let's believe it. And everybody's talking about it in the whole world about the Chavetz Chaim, about the Chavetz Chaim's nevuah. You know, in the whole world, all the tzaddikim talking about it. Now, what's interesting is there was the famous tzaddik, the Yukna of Stalin. The Yukna of Stalin became a rebbe when he was 9 years old. He was 9 years old, and 9 years old they were already giving him kvitlich. They were writing him kvitlich, and he was already giving blessings when he was 9. He was 9 years old, he had Ruach HaKodesh already. He was there in World War I, and they asked him the same thing. And they asked him what's going to be, and he said there's going to be a part 2 and a part 3. Part 3, he didn't say when it's going to be, like the Chavetz Chaim, which we have no answer he did, but part 2, he said, Well, I'm just showing that you see that there's going to be 3 parts. I'm just, the same idea. The Yukna said that there's going to be a second part, and it's going to make also, just like the Chofetz Chaim said, they write from the Sefer, he said, it's going to be child's play compared to the first part, which exactly happened. And the third part, he said, is going to be much worse. And he said, this is what he said. We said this in the first year, that Paris, London, and New York are going to be wiped away. That's what he said. He says, Rem is to Nuffle, falling. Nuffle's Nun is New York, Pei is Paris, and Lam is London. This is what the Yukna said. Tremendous Yukna, the Yukna of Stalin. And the Yukna himself also, before, he was lifted before World War II, he said way before also he said exactly where the Germans are going to lose the battles, he said exactly. So we have a Messiah that's going to be part 3. Yukna didn't say when, but Chofetz Chaim said yes. So we both know that Tzaddikim foresaw a third part. Now we're going to get to how we know the third part is happening now, besides that we said that the kids said and all the Tzaddikim said it's real, but where you see from the Nevi'im and all that. Now, and then they asked Yukna to Stalin, they asked him, why are you being scaring people? He says, what can I do? I have to say what my eyes see. That's what he said. I have to say what my eyes see. Mamash is the same thing. Mamash was a Navur. What's interesting is, there's a gematria, came the gematria of Yud Shmitois, which is exactly the 7 years of Chofetz Chaim, equals the Tafshin Ayin Vav with the words. Yud Shmitois equals the Tafshin Ayin Vav with the word Yud Shmitois. With the letters Yud and then Shin Mem, exactly. Exactly what Chofetz Chaim is saying, that these Yud Shmitois is going to add up to Tafshin Ayin Vav, and this is the year Mashiach is coming. Chofetz Chaim. I brought down also over here, I wrote that also, just the Malbim also writes there's going to be 3 parts, just the Chofetz Chaim and the Yukna. And it's really a Zohar Hakadosh. Found the Zohar in Parshas Ve'era says also, the Zohar writes over there, that there's going to be 3 parts of Gog and Magog, and the last part's going to be near Yerushalayim, in Yerushalayim, like it says. So you see, because in the Navi you don't see it's going to be 3 parts. Navi just says it's going to be a war Gog and Magog. But according to the Tzaddikim, you see Tzaddikim said they're supposed to be spread out, and you see Nevu, you see Mamish. It's unbelievable. You see the Chofetz Chaim said exactly what, the Yukna everybody. A little bit now of also what's going on now is lately, Chaim Kanievsky in the past year has been telling everybody nobody to leave Eretz Yisrael, and everybody to come up to Eretz Yisrael. And they even asked him, somebody went over to him and said, asked him, is there a chiyuv? He said he's from America and people are saying not to come to Eretz Yisrael, there's no mitzvah. And Chaim says it's a mitzvah to come up and the geula is coming, everybody should be mekabel geula. When last year, which was the 7th year of Shemitah, meaning the Shemitah year, the whole massacre in Har Nof happened in the Shul. So Rav Lau came to Rav Chaim Kanievsky, and Rav Chaim Kanievsky said to him, said these words. He says, Mashiach is coming Matzah Shvius, meaning the year we're in now, because it's right after Rosh Hashanah. I saw the video. It's all over YouTube also. Chaim Kanievsky told Lau, Mashiach is coming this year. Now, they asked Chaim Kanievsky also, where's Mashiach? He said, Mashiach is somebody who's walking around us, and he already knows that he's Mashiach. That's how close. Because in Sfarim it says that they don't even know until the end. Chaim Kanievsky says he knows who Mashiach is already. Mashiach knows himself who he is. Not that Rav Chaim knows who he is. Rav Chaim knows, maybe he does know, because it's Rav Chaim Kanievsky, but it's not the point. The point is that also when the Rav of the Shul came to Rav Chaim kept on telling him, he said, what can I tell you, this is the last karbonas basically before Mashiach. You see that, he was saying this is adding up to the last parts, mamish from the last parts. Now, what's interesting is that somebody walked in with a paper that had all the things written around about the Chofetz Chaim. He said, should I give it out? But Chofetz Chaim Navur, it's Tafshin Ayin Vav. And Rav Chaim told him to be mafitzit, which means that Rav Chaim saw it and said it's emes. It's all emes. That Mashiach's coming this year. This year, Tafshin Ayin Vav. What's interesting is, there was Rashid and Lakewood, or Makil Kotler, who we just spoke about, Rav Aaron's grandson. He went into Rav Chaim Kanievsky, and Chaim Kanievsky told him, don't leave Eretz Yisrael. This year it happened. He said, I can't have thousands of Talmidim. He said, doesn't matter, tell him to come up. Mashiach is coming, everybody has to accept, to welcome Mashiach. That's what Makil Kotler said. Now, what's interesting is, this Oman, we were all in Oman, and Rav Arsh said an astonishing statement. Rav Arsh said that right now Mashiach is with us in Oman walking around. This is what Rav Arsh said. He said, Vader, Mashiach is with us right now. He said it, not even Vader, he just said it. He just said it in a statement. Mashiach is walking around us, and he's in the Guf. He's one of the people walking around in Oman. What's interesting is, Rav Levi Yitzhak Bender, from the Anash of Breslev, said that when the 40,000 people come to Oman, that's the year of Mashiach. They say it was 50,000 this year. 50,000. The Ukrainians and in Israel, they projected it was 50,000. 50,000. Last year was 30 something. Went up, and this year they thought people wouldn't go. 50,000 people. Now, what's interesting is, Rav Arush said over a story 3 times in one Shabbos. I heard this in my own ears. I heard this also, but I heard this in my own ears. It's going to sound unbelievable. It's an unbelievable story. Now, Rav Arush said that there's a woman who lives in Cholon, over here in Israel, that she has a tremendous high neshama. Everybody knows Rav Arush never talks about this type of stuff. All day he talks about Amunah. He doesn't talk about stories but this story he said I have to tell over. He said a story that there was a lady in Cholon that her neshama, she goes into trances a lot and she speaks to one of the Mekubalim up in the upper levels. I think he said Mordechai Sharabi. That's what he said. But that's not the story. The story goes like this. They had a baby and her son, 8 days, and they wanted to make the bris milah. There's a Mekubal in Eretz Yisrael, this famous Mekubal, his name is Avram Chai. Avram Chai, tremendous Mekubal, very close to Rav Arush. He has a chair of Rav Nachman. There's a famous original chair that's in the Beis Medrash in Mei Sharm. They made 5 copies. One of them is Rav Chai has it. Rav Chai bought a chair for the bris milah. He sat down and he put the woman into the chair to sit with the baby. All of a sudden she fell into a trance. This Rav Arush said, I wouldn't say the story if I'm not 100% sure. And this Rav Arush, we don't have to talk for Rav Arush. I'm just saying his name, everybody knows who he is. Rav Arush said she fell into a trance and all of a sudden a voice started talking and said, I'm Nachman of Breslev. Rav Nachman of Breslev this happened this year, meaning Tafshin Ein Hey, a couple of months ago. Rav Shalom said this by Friday night, in the morning, and through the Shlishis. Shal Shuddis. He's turned to the husband with speaking and said, why do you have this tum in your hand? He was holding an iPhone. The second he heard that, he broke it on the wall because he was so scared. The second thing he said was that, this is what he said, Mashiach is this close, we're so close to Mashiach, and everybody has to try to learn as much Gemara. Rav Arush said, and Rav Nachman said, tell Shalom Arush that I told him to be mafitzis. And that's what Rav Arush said, I have to say the story over, because Rav Nachman was machayev me, this story. But what he said, Mashiach is mamish closer than ever. Yeah. That's another story of Rav Arush. But the other thing Rav Arush said, that Mashiach mamish was an ummah. Reb Dov Rabu Chatzir Shlito, from his grandfather Baba Sali, he said the Baba Sali came to him during a dream when this summer there was heat waves, tremendous heat, and Baba David said that his grandfather Baba Sali told him in the dream, these dreams of tzaddikim are different, that it's because it's the Or of Mashiach, that's why it's so hot, because the Or of Mashiach. This is what Baba David said. Now, what's interesting is, he said over the story of the Balatanya. Balatanya one time was saying it was Kriyas Torah, and he got up and he said the pasuk. He was learning. He said the pasuk ve'es ha'elef shvamot v'chamesh v'shivim vovim. It's talking about the hooks and it's talking about the structure of the Beis Hamikdash, a certain proportion of the Beis Hamikdash, and he didn't read it like that. He read it ve'es hey elef, not ha'elef, the 1,000, hey elef, 5,775. And they asked him, they kept on fixing it, they kept on telling him, the people that were standing there, and he kept on saying no. And they asked him after, he said, I got a nevuah about Mashiach of that year, the year of 5,775. What do you mean 5,775? That, meaning that Mashiach is going to start, the Geula, like we said, that the Gog HaMagog is going to start in Tafshin Ein Hey, which it did, because this kid even said in Shemaim, it started Chof Zayin. I'm sorry, not in Tafshin Ein Hey. I'm sorry. It's going to start in Tafshin Ein Hey, the whole thing, which it did, this whole thing about Syria, which we're going to talk about, which is Gog HaMagog, which started in Tafshin Ein Hey, and all that, and it's going to go into Tafshin Ein Vav, and Shna, meaning when the Gemara says that Shemitah is when it's going to start, and then the year after Shemitah, then David comes. The wars are going to be in Tafshin Ein Hey, and that's what Baal Tanya said. They came to the Chabadski Rebbe, this past Chabadski Rebbe, and they asked him the story, and the Chabadski Rebbe said, the fact that we're always davening for Mashiach is because we want it to come Achishena, because Achishena will be on a much higher level, meaning if we deserve Mashiach, it will be much higher, it will be tremendous miracles, but if he comes through, we don't deserve it, and Hashem has to give us, it will be less miracles. But he said this story though was 100% true. That Be'ito, when the Baal Tanya saw Be'ito is Tafshin Ein Hey, Tafshin Ein Vav, meaning Tafshin Ein Hey, Tafshin Ein Vav is really the 1 year of the wars, and then Mashiach ben David coming, which is now. Meaning Gog HaMagog finishes in Tafshin Ein Vav, and Mashiach reveals himself. The Rizal says the same thing. Rizal also learns up with this pasuk. Now, The Malbim writes that, he writes this in Yechezkel, he writes this in the Malbim, the famous Malbim that we spoke about. The Malbim writes, the Malbim Mamash is pure Ari Hakadosh, it's Paul Shit, you see in his writings, pure Tzadik Yisod Olam. Malbim writes that when you see that all of Malchus Yishmael is falling, right, then you know that Mashiach is imminently coming. Like we see today, the whole Middle East is falling apart, left by right. Everything. Malbim says that it's totally in Nephilas Yishmael, which we see. Zot the Medrash Rashbi, which is from Rav Shem Bar Yochai. Medrash Rashbi says that when Nero Rosh Shel Damascus, Nero, which is the name of a king of Damascus, which is Damascus, Syria, Damascus falls, and Damascus falls, that means that all the Ishmaelim fell, and Mashiach then Mashiach will reveal himself. What does Rav Shem Bar Yochai teach us? That Damascus falls, right? Everything else fell. That means all the everything fell. All the klippas. It means he's talking about the Ruchnis and the Gash. Everything, it's done. Malchus Yishmael fell. Now, this is the astonishing part. Nero Mizrachi, Nero of Mizrach, which he says over there, Nero of Mizrach, it says in Rash, is exactly equal to Assad. To Rosh Memshala, Syria. That you see that Nero is Assad. And you know what's incredible? I went online, and they have actually they have a sculpture of Nero. And I looked at Assad, and the mamash, it's like, same thing. Incredibly. Remember we spoke about how Obama looks exactly like Paro? And whoever doesn't believe it, type it on a computer. I'm not crazy. Everybody I show it to, and everybody sees it, says their jaws drop. Paro looks exactly like Goy. Like Obama. And you know what's interesting? Why am I saying all this? Because the Arizal says that in the end of times, the Baal Shem is going to bring back all the people that tortured Am Yisrael, which is Nebuchadnezzar, Nero, and everybody, and he's going to punish them. So you see that all the kings, they're all going to be from the same kings. You know what's interesting? Rebbe Yosef Shani said that Putin is, you know who? Putin is Julius Caesar. I looked at a sculpture of Julius Caesar and Putin. Anybody, please type it in. Julius Caesar and Putin, they look like incredible. And the wife of Pride looks exactly like Michelle Obama. And people said, oh, it's theories. Look it up. If you think it's theories, look it up on the internet now. Look it up. Type in Paro. Do it in Hebrew. It's easier. Paro, Peresh Ayin Hey, and Obama. Obama, Aleph Vav Beis Mem Hey, and they'll show pictures. Putin, Pe Vav Tes Yud Nun, and Julius Caesar, Caesar, Kuf Yud Samach Reish, exactly the same. And then Yosef Shani, who's known by the way that he's writing to Gegulim and he's told people the Gegulim and exact stories, he said the same exact thing. He didn't say they look alike, he said that these are the Gegulim and they look exactly alike. You know what's interesting? The Arizal says that Sancheiriv, Goy doesn't come from Sancheiriv. Who was Sancheiriv a Gilgul of? Paro. You know, what does the Gemara say? That Hashem wanted to make Sancheiriv Goy and Chizkiah Melech Mashiach, but they didn't deserve it because they didn't sing Shiro. You see that Sancheiriv was supposed to be Goy, who was a Gilgul of Paroi, right? And right? And Obama. Now, what's interesting is, so you mamish see that the whole thing, what's the whole world talking about now? Where's the whole world now? In Syria now. Everybody's in Syria. China's in Syria, America's in Syria. Everybody, these are simple things. Everybody feels Mashiach, everybody knows Mashiach is coming because look what's going on. Everything that says about Damascus, all the Midrashim, says right over here. It says Syria is going to fall. What's going on? The whole with ISIS and forget about it. Forget it. Rashbi says when Damascus falls, it's over with. Damascus, it's full, it's gone. It's done. The whole Syria is a parking lot. Everybody's bombing each other there. Since the new year, since Russia, when did Russia go in there? Sukkot time. Since the new year, basically. Boom! Tafshinayim Vav. Exactly. Now, what's interesting is also Yirmiyah also says, if you look in Yirmiyah, when he talks about Gog and Magog, he says the word also Damascus. That when Damascus falls. Also, Yirmiyah talks about Damascus, that the Mashiach is telling in Damascus, in Syria, which is Damascus. Now, what's interesting is, this is something that I wanted to say, which is it's a little far, but I think it's something nice. In Rebbe Rashbi, he adds on over there something incredible. A few words. He says, Yitzmach koichov Echad v'roishoi shevet. He says before Mashiach in Syria falls, at that time there's going to be it's going to sprout the star of called Shevet. Now what's the star of Shevet? The Talmidei of the Gra. The Gra, no, was the famous Makobel. The Talmidim of the Gra said from B'Shem Gra that the koich of Shevet is the koich of Mashiach. It's the star of Mashiach. It represents Mashiach. What's this star called? They said Shevet is the Shavit. Do you know what happened this year? This year was the first time in history that a satellite, that time we're about Syria, this time it started, they made a huge, it was all over NASA. It was all over. I even checked it up. That Shavit, that a satellite landed for the first time on this star called Shavit. You see, I'm just saying it's amazing. You see that the Rajvi says that the star is going to sprout. What does it mean sprout? It's not going to, the star was always there, but we're going to know about the star. And exactly when the falling starts heavy. That's all this time now, a year ago. Incredible, right? You got to admit, it's not nothing's a coincidence, we know. And there's Talmidei Agra, say it's the star of Mashiach and it's Shavit. Go online, type in Shavit. I read it in Hebrew. Whoever doesn't understand Hebrew, type in Shavit. And it will give you the English name, I guess. I didn't check it up in English. And the star, Mamash, almost about a year ago, the first time a satellite landed on it. And they got tremendous information for the first time about the place. Yitzmach, the star of Mashiach. Because the Mamash, the Gili Mashiach. Now, what's interesting is, I came up, listen to this. What's interesting is, what does it say by Yaakov Avinu? Sheyokum Shevet b'Yisrael. In the end of times, right? It was a bracha that's talking about in the end of times. Yokum Shevet b'Yisrael. Shevet is the star, which is I want to say that this pshat that Shevet is also the Shevet that Rajvi talks about, which is really koich of Shavit, which is what represents Mashiach. That when Mashiach comes, this star, meaning the koich of Mashiach will be here to be ready Megillah. What's interesting is koich of Shevet is exactly Gematria Mashiach. You know what I just said? Koich of Shevet is exactly equal to Mashiach. Also, koich of Shavit. Koich of Shevet is Gematria Mashiach, and Koich of Shavit with the Yud equals Ben Yishai. Right? David Ben Yishai, right? David Ben Yishai, who was Mashiach Ben David, it is Ben David. Now, the question is, why is Damascus, why is that the Indian of Mashiach? So the Rizal explains. The Rizal gives us, we just said the all Nevi'im, but what's the pshat? Listen to this. The Rizal says, because Damascus is where the klipa is the highest. Why? Where's the kedusha the strongest in Judaism? The Beis HaMikdash, right? Mikdash is the same oasis as Damascus, the Arizal says. The Arizal says that where the highest kedusha is, the klipa tries to nurse from the kedusha. Where's that klipa nursing from? In Damascus. So when the Damascus falls, that means the kedusha won. And what is the kedusha won? The Beis HaMikdash. So when Damascus falls, which we see now it's falling, it means that the Beis HaMikdash is being raised and raised and raised. And Reb Chaim Kanievsky said already, the Beis HaMikdash, Ruchnius, is already in this world. And Reb Berlin said the same thing. But through the Arizal, we understand that why all this craziness of Damascus. Why Damascus? And Chaim Rajvi talks about all that. But what's the Kabbalah aspect of it? Because it's the same thing as Mikdash, because it's the strongest klipa. When the strongest klipa falls, we won. We won. The Rebbe gave us koach to win. Now, by the way, the pasuk that I brought down before from the Baal Tanya, I wrote down over here, I forgot to save, and the Rizal, about 5,000 years, the Kamarna brings it also. The Heilige Kamarna, who lived about 150 years ago, he has a sefer Heichal Bracha. The Kamarna talks about a lot about Mashiach over there also. One of the things he says, he brings down this pasuk also, but it's a tremendous Kabbalah sefer, the sefer Heichal Bracha, the Kamarna. Now, there was a big tzaddik that was just nifter a couple months ago. His name was Reb Chaim Greineman. He was in his 90s. He was from the Gedolei Ador in Bnei Brak. The last thing he said before he was nifter, the last words he said, Kol kitzin of the kitzin. That means the end and the end of times. That means that there's no more time left. Meaning that all the calculations, there was always a little bit more time that we could. He said, it's over with now. When the last, this is the last. It's over. And he was nifter. A few seconds later, it was the last thing he said. Tremendous. He was a Baal Kodesh. He was very close to that with all the thinking the Stebach has an issue. He was Baal Zokim Oid. Tremendous. He used to sit and learn in his bed. You know why he sat and learned in his bed? Because he wanted to learn until the mamish till he passed out. He was 90s. He was mamish in the Gedolei Ador. Reb Chaim Greineman, famous Reb Chaim Greineman. This is the last thing he said. Kolu kol etzikitzin. It's over with. Done. Now, What's interesting is Reb Chaim Kanievsky also said Yad Sarah is a tremendous program here in Eretz Yisrael that helps a lot of things, and they build things, and they have Yad Sarah had a program. They were putting in panic buttons in shuls because of terrorism after it happened. They went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky about 2-3 months ago, and they asked him, should we put in more buttons? He said no. I asked him why not. He said Mashiach is coming it's coming right now. Matzah Shvi is coming now. There's no need to do it. Isn't that unbelievable? Chaim Kanievsky also said, there was this Chaim Kanievsky, I'm saying this all from the Gadol Ador, which every word he says he weighs, and he is pure Ari Hakadosh. It's no thing. Chaim Kanievsky. I don't have to stick up from Chaim Kanievsky. It's posh. Chaim Kanievsky said there was a person, his name is Rav Levinson. His father's the Rav in the old city. His son has a kollel, has 1,000 Avreichim. He came to Chaim Kanievsky for the new year, towards the new year, before Rosh Hashanah. The thing with Yad Sarah also was right before Rosh Hashanah. He said, Matzah Shvi, he's coming. In a few months, it's over with. There's nothing. He said he asked Chaim how many new Talmidim should I put in because of money. Chaim said 50,000 more Avreichim put in. He said 50,000 Avreichim. Where's the money going to come from? He said Mashiach is coming Matzah Shvi, meaning this year that we're in now. What are you worried about? He'll worry for you about the money. Put in 50,000. Meaning 50,000, just put in a tremendous number because it doesn't matter. The next few months, whatever, it's over with. Mashiach's coming. Now, what's interesting is that by Lev La'achim, there was a big Rav, he was the right hand, very close to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and Reb Chaim Kanievsky's son and grandson were there, and the whole world's being mafitz the video, that he got up, Reb Chaim Kanievsky told his son to be mafitz in the world, the Mashiach is at the Petach, it's coming this year, and we're in the last mamish seconds, and whoever wants to be saved has to learn and somebody said even the biggest chilunim, the non-religious, could turn it around in 1 second, and they'll be saved. And so his grandson asked him, but Zayd, what should I do? I should walk around with a speaker system and all around the car, and the car, and announce it? He said, yes, walk around with the speaker system and say in my name that Mashiach is coming, and everybody has to prepare it. Now, another thing with Reb Chaim Kanievsky. Reb Chaim Kanievsky called his niece, which is Rabbanit Cook, this Rav Doiv Cook, who he said from the Makubal, who also said, by the way, that Mashiach is coming in the next year or two. He said this 2 years ago, that is, he's mamish coming. He said last Rosh Hashanah is probably the last Rosh Hashanah. Mamish, he's tremendous Makubal, everything. And he said, most probably, if not the next one, the point is, his wife is the niece of Chaim Kanievsky. Chaim Kanievsky told her 3 things to me, because she speaks in front of thousands of women. She gives tremendous speeches. She's tremendous tzaddikus. She gives brachas, tremendous tzaddikus, the real deal. Mamish tzaddikus. Her father is she's mamish the inical of Rebbe Nachman. The point is, she said, incredible. She said that Reb Chaim told her 3 things. The Mashiach is mamish out the door already, in the door meaning into our door, coming, he's here. Everybody, there's going to be a loud noise of a shofar. Nobody be scared because it's going to be terrifying, but don't be terrified, please, he said. And the 3rd thing, everybody should be prepared with the brachas. The 6 brachas you say when Mashiach comes. One is Gal Yisrael, Shechianu, and when 600,000 people are together, like they did that actually 2 years ago, a year and a half ago because of the army. When they had that whole thing of all the Jews, remember in Eretz Yisrael, there was about 1 million people there in the streets. They did it, but there's special brachas. You can look it up. Anybody look it up the brachas. You see, Mamash Reb Chaim keeps on saying it over and over. We're here. This is it. This is it. We just showed from Rajbi, from everything. Now, also, I forgot to say, Aaron wrote from the Baal Shem wrote the Shem the famous Sefer Shem and the Taras Kodesh, and all the famous farm, Rav Ari, tremendous Baal Nevuah, tremendous Ruach HaKodesh. He said also, like the Chavetz Chaim, there's going to be a third. There's going to be a 3rd part, and it's going to be also not many years after, meaning a certain amount of years after World War II, and then it's over with. Now, I want to say like this. I want to speak about a little bit what is this thing about Russia now coming to Syria. We just spoke about how Syria is mamish, it shows that Mashiach is here, but now even more because Russia is there. Russia, by the way, is you know what's interesting? The Goy Vilna says that when it says Paras, it says in the Psukim, in Cheskel, that Paras is also going to be part of Goy Gemara. It includes Russia. Why? Zok the Vilna Goyim, because they come from the same klipa. Do you hear this? They come from the same klipa. Paras just means the klipa Paras, which doesn't just mean Persia, it means also Russia. And I realized that Paras is Persia, right? Paras, pay for Paras, Reish is Russia, and Samach is Sin. And if you look today, these 3 are on the same side of things. That's what I thought about. Of course, you see Russia and Iran in Syria right now are fighting to hold the government of Assad, and America's on the other side with the rebels. You see that there's sides here. And China says they're on the side, they're with Russia always. You see Paras, the Vilna Gaon, in the sting of the Vilna Gaon, you see a remez in the word of Paras itself that it's also Russia. But you see that Russia, mamash has to do with this. Now, what I mean to say, what's interesting is, the Vilna Gaon says that this Tsar, which is Paras, name is Doiv, beer, Doiv. Do you know what the Prime Minister of Russia's name is? In Hebrew, Medvedev. In his name is the Lashon Doiv, a beer. He's representing the Klippa of Russia. His name represents the Klippa of Russia. Incredible. But let's go a little weiter. What's interesting is, so Russia, you see that Russia and Iran are mamish on the same side as Assad, right? With Assad. Rav Simcha Zelig, who was the Rav of Brisk in the times of Reb Chaim Brisker, said, B'Shem Reb Chaim, that he heard from the Talmidei of the Gra. We said this in last year. When the Russians capture Crimea, which happened a year ago, the beginning of the Geula is starting, and when Russia passes through the Bosphorus, I think it's called, which is by eastern by Turkey, the river that connects to the Middle East, put on your big day Shabbos, because Mashiach is coming, and it's going to come any second. A couple of weeks ago, Russia went through that place to come to the Middle East, to Syria. Now, this is great. Mamash, you see that from 250, 300 years ago exactly. He said, the Levites said first they're going to capture Crimea, and then a little later they're going to come near Turkey. And recently I saw in the news that the Russians, they flew their airplanes into Turkey, into the airspace of Turkey, and Turkey said, we'll blow your airplanes out of the sky. The mamish, you see that they came to Turkey. They were in Turkey's airspace, and they went through that river, the Bosphorus it's called, Bosphorus, something like that. You can check out the river to get to the Middle East. Now, what's interesting is that Rav Moshe Sternbach, in Tafshin Ayin Dal and Purim, he said the same exact thing. He said that I can't reveal secrets, but on Purim I'm allowed to, because the Gemara says you're allowed to reveal secrets on Purim. It's a whole heft in the Gemara, and I'm going to reveal to you this secret that I have, Messiah, that when Russia conquers Crimea, Mashiach is starting. Why did he say it in that Purim? Because on that Purim, that's when they conquered Crimea. That's when they conquered Crimea, on Purim, on that time. You know what's interesting? I'll tell you something interesting, incredible. Listen to this. The Gra and the Yid HaKadosh from Pshisko, who was the Rebbe of the Rebbe Bunim of Pshisko, who was the Rebbe of the Kotzker Rebbe and the Chedusharim, and Rabbi Yisrael Merizhin, the Heliger Rabbi Yisrael Merizhin HaKadosh, write, they also write the same thing, that when Russia comes near Turkey, which to get into the Middle East, put on your Big Day Shabbos, which is now. I should be wearing Big Day Shabbos. I don't know why I'm not doing this. It's time. You know what's interesting also? Targum Yonis and Uzil, by Nevuas Bilam, he talks about Mashiach, Gog Magog, Mashiach. He says when Mashiach's going to come is when? You listen to this? When Turks are involved in the Gog Magog, which is now. This whole thing about Turkey, it's also, they're all NATO, all this. Mamish, that the Torah also talks about how Turkey is involved. Now, Rav Moshe Soloveitchik, who was from the family of Reb Chaim Brisk, he writes that Russia, he says that Russia, he has also a Messiah, that Russia comes from Esav Russia, which is Amalek. And from Russia is Gog Magog is going to start, like we just said. Also of Itzalim of Mivolozhin. Rabbi Itzalim of Volozhin was also said b'shem Reb Chaim Volozhin, was said b'shem Gog Vilna, that also the Russia is Amalek. When is the falling of Amalek? On Purim. You see that the beginning of the falling of Amalek, now of Russia, is when they started capturing Crimea. Even though it was a victory for them, but we just said it's the starting of the Geula when everything about it is going to fall. When Russia, Gog is going to fall. So it's really, you see, a remez, it's the same thing. Understand? Incredible. Now, also of David Luria, famous Bakubah David Luria, for a couple hundred, he also writes, a couple hundred years ago, he writes also, the day that the Russians will win over Crimea, he writes, Crimea, we have the footsteps of Mashiach are coming. It's the footsteps. We hear the footsteps. And then we said from Turkey, then Imamish, it's any second. What's interesting is that, you know what? Nosson Sivachfeigel, who was the Mashgiach of Lakewood, said that he heard from Rav Aaron Kotler that Rav Aaron Kotler didn't say Turkey. He didn't even say Turkey. Rav Aaron Kotler said his Messiah was Not like a Moshiach Shtama, that's Istanbul, and meaning that area, Bosphorus, this river. It's when they come to Syria, it's over. When they come to Syria, that's Gog and Magog, and it's over. He skips the part about Istanbul, which is also happened. He says that when they're fighting in Syria, it's over. You know what I thought about? I said, Russia and Syria is the same thing. Russia and Syria are the same ISIS. You see that Russia is nichlal in the falling of Syria. When Syria, Damascus, which is really Syria, falls, that's also the same thing as Russia falling, because it's the same word. Syria and Russia, the same thing. Because in Hebrew, what's Syria? Russia. Same exact lashon. Incredible, right? It's the same words. Same letters, exactly. Now, Rebbe Mordechai Shirabi had a student named Reb Chaim Sinavni, who was a tremendous makobel, one of the biggest students of Mordechai Shirabi. He writes, and there's a sefer on his life, in a sefer called Derech Tzadikim, and he says the same thing. He says that when's the Geula will be, he writes, they write in B'Shem him, his students wrote, he said that when there's going to be a uproar going on between Russia and Syria, in Syria, which is exactly what's going on today. Exactly what's going on, all the news. What's the whole news today? That Russia is mamish pushing America to war. You see it. Over there saying, they're beating up the rebels, they're destroying the rebels that the USA backed. Nobody has to, I don't have to tell anybody, everybody sees the news. You see mamish and Kubal from hundreds of years ago saw this. Incredible. Now, mamish coming to the end. What's interesting is, there was a Makobel also named Chaim Shvili, who lived about 7 years ago, 1950s. He wrote a sefer Mashiach, and he said, Mashiach's going to come when Russia comes to try to come into Eretz Yisrael through the Golan, through the north. Where's the Golan? Syria. What does it say that Gog is going to come in? Right? Listen to this. Now, what's interesting is I'm going to say over 2 more parts, and then we're going to leave the rest for a different. What's interesting is the Malbim in Yecheskel writes that the Machom of Gog and Magog is going to be a Machom of religions. You know what's interesting? How did all this Machom start? Everything between Syria and all this? ISIS. ISIS came to Syria, they're fighting against Assad. Okay, the rebels, but it's really ISIS, and the whole world's going crazy about ISIS. ISIS bombing everybody, and Russia came to destroy ISIS. It's all ISIS. Do you know what's interesting? Do you know that Syria, Tunisia, and all these countries that ISIS has a footing in, they were like the most non-religious, quote-unquote, Muslims. And you see that what? Then in 1 second, Daesh, which their whole thing is, they're living 2,000 years ago, they're cutting people's heads off and doing things for the name of religion. They turned all these countries around from the most moderate places. They're basically not religious. Syria wasn't a very religious. Tunisia and all these places. And now these places, and Iraq, these aren't the most religious. This is in Iran and all these places that are hardcore, like in Egypt, They turned it around, that now these are the biggest places of wars based on religion. Because this is what Hashem is doing. Hashem brought Daesh to come, to turn it all around and to start it, because this is what it's going to be. It's going to be a machama between religions. What's interesting is, the Abarbanel also writes that the mechama of Gog and Magog is going to be a mechama of dat, of religions. What's interesting is, you listen to this, the name Barack Obama and the Khamenei, the Ali Khamenei, and Khamenei, his name is in Hebrew, the exact names equal exactly to Gog and Magog. Now, we said that there's 3 parts to Gog and Magog. Like the Chavetz Chaim said, the Malbim and the Zohar, all the different pshatim. The Medrash in Yalkut Shimoini, in Tov Ayin Hey, says the same thing. That there's going to be 3 parts, and he said, we say in Rosh Chodesh, there's a remes to these 3 parts, in Hal. It says in the Pasuk like this. It says 3 times the word Sabuni. Sabuni Kitvarim, the Achu Ke'esh Koitzim Shem Hashem Kibbutz. Sabuni Kitvarim, right? There's 3 parts. And the last Sabuni is Sabuni Kitvarim, the Achu Ke'esh Koitzim Shem Kamilam. Da'achu ke'esh, if you take the words, the first 2 letters da'achu is Daled Ayin, the last 2 letters of ke'esh is Ayin, Aleph Shin is Daesh. Do you know what Chaf of Chaf is? Goig, because Chaf is interchangeable with Gimel. One of the big tzaddikim wanted to say this thing that da'achu ke'esh, today, he wanted to bring this remez, Imam see, and it says, the Yalkut Shimoni says this last Sabuni is going to go, is regarding the last part of Gog and Magog, and you see that Daesh is Meramez in Gog and Magog. But there's no shot, everybody knows that ISIS has to do the end of the time. There's no, it's bullshit. All of a sudden, how do they win all these wars? They just have a few things, you have atomic bombs, anybody can destroy them, they keep on gaining. Even the Russians now, they're still winning. Because it's all from the Rebbe Shalom. All from the Rebbe Shalom to make one big Melcham. Now, what's interesting is also, we said that we brought down from Rashbi, the Medrash, and that when the city Tadmor falls, know that it has to do, it's a tremendous, beautiful day for Am Yisrael, because Tadmor has to do the Chorban and the Geula. Tadmor, we just said, right? Tadmor is that ancient city that a couple of months ago, ISIS came and they started destroying all the temples. When Tadmor falls, understand that it's mamash times of Geula. You see the same thing, we said this in last year. Now the last thing I wanted to say is like this, which is incredible. I wrote down over here also, the last thing I wrote actually is that mamash to check that Putin mamash, you see that Putin looks exactly like Julius Caesar, Obama looks exactly like Paroi, and Assad looks like Nero. And I brought down over here that the Rizal says about this whole Gilgulim, that Hashem's going to punish them, they have to all come back. And we just spoke about it before. The last thing I want to say is, also, in the last year we spoke about that, it says in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, in Tzadik Zion, that in the 6th year there's going to be noises all over the world. And we said that in 2 years ago, it was all over YouTube, strange sounds in the world, and it sounds like shofars. Remember, I showed you even in town, I showed the boys, everybody saw it, they, and I sent to everybody I showed, it was astonishing. And Rav Ara spoke about it in Uman and said it's the real, yes, it's this. And Rav Zamer Kohen saw it, and Dabrut, and all the Mekubalim. Yosef Shani also spoke about it. And everybody speaks about it because it's Pashut. Because Rashi says, what is going to be in the 6th year? What is sounds? It says it's going to be sounds. So Rashi says it's going to be sounds of shofars. Everybody, it's all over the world, everybody's filming, there's millions of views, and Imam hear sounds of shofars. That's one thing we spoke about last year. And another thing we also spoke about I forgot to say, is that the Yaakov Shmini says that the year that when Paras and Saudi Arabia have a machlokes, right? Paras is going to get up. They're going to destroy the world they're going to destroy they're going to destroy most of the world. What do we see going on? Paras, exactly what's going on. The whole atomic bomb and all that, and they're building atomic bombs, and they're for sure building atomic bombs, and they're against Saudi, right? Saudi Arabia. Now what's going on in Yemen? They back the Houthis, which are the Houthis or Houthis, they're the rebels, and Saudi Arabia backs up the government. And Saudi Arabia and Iran are arch enemies. And you see that now, Saudi Arabia, it says in Saudi Arabia is going to go to the west. What happened in Saudi Arabia? When it started, the whole thing, they came to the White House, which is the west, Edley. You see, Mamish, that's what happened. Now, the kid in this video, if you watch it, he says, Mamish, that there is going to be a nuclear bomb that's going to fall in Israel. But Hashem, it's going to be now 2. There was also last Rosh Hashanah, Tavshin Ayin Hey, a kid who was not an autistic kid. We know that the autistic kids, the Gemara says that they're going to have nevuah in the end of times. And the Chazon Ish wrote this in a sefer. One of the kids said the same thing as this kid, and they don't even know each other. This kid in this video, 15 years old. You see, they're both non-religious. They both have no shaykhis. But he said he had a dream, and he saw that he said the same thing, that in Gog and Magog, the war is going to go on. After 2 days, the whole army is going to fall apart. They're all going to come in here, and we're going to have Hashem's going to have to save us. And there's a whole process. But what they both do say is that Iran will throw an atomic bomb into Israel. Hashem's going to keep it in the air for like 2 weeks, he said. The other kid said for 8 days, and he said for 2 weeks. But Mamash the same thing, and it's going to fall, and they both say the same thing. That's going to fall in Tel Aviv. He says, this kid said it's going to fall in Tel Aviv and Haifa. And they both say the same thing. What's going on? This is going on right now, as we speak. Am I right or wrong? We're going to end off the shir with a tremendous story, with a tremendous thing. There's a Rav in Ezra Satira, a tremendous tzaddik, a Rosh Koil, and there's his name is tremendous Mekubal, not Rosh Koil. There's a Rosh Koil that had happened in the story, but Richmai Morgenstern said over the story also. Richmai Morgenstern, who is, if not the biggest Mekubal, from the biggest Mekubalim, he's Baal Soga, Ruach HaKodesh. I mean, this is somebody that everybody hears of Richmai Morgenstern and Stroll. There's a Maisel, there was a big tzaddik in 1989 who said a tremendous thing. There was a tzaddik who lived in Belgium. There's a chassidus called Pshvorsk. Rabbi Yankov of Pshvorsk was a Talmud of I think the Belzer Rebbe, the Sarshad Belz. Rabbi Yankov of Pshvorsk was known, he was a Baal Ruach HaKodesh, Baal Moifis, everything. There were 3 students that went to Belgium on a trip from Israel. And they came to him, they started talking to him, and they asked him, Rebbe Yankov, they said, Rebbe, when is Mashiach going to come? We always hear about Chevlei Mashiach, but when is Mashiach himself going to come? He put his head down. This story was said over by one of the students, one of these kids. I was there. He's a Rosh Kol and Ezra Satar. He said, I went there. I went to the Torah. I was there. I was one of the 3 people. He said, Rebbe Yankov put his head down, and it's known that Rebbe Yankov Mamash had Ruach HaKodesh. And like we'll see, Rabbi Shemai Morgenstern, who was a Talmud of him, said about him, and he said, in Yiddish, but I'll say it in English, he thinks that in 27 years, Mashiach's going to come. What's 1989 plus 27 years? 2015, right? Am Am I right or wrong? It's going to be, meaning in the 27th year. So they didn't know. They didn't know what do you mean he says. So the three people, they just said that this is what he said. Zukt min hastam or 27 years. They didn't know what. Bichmai Bogenstein said, and you know who he meant. Bichmai Bogenstein said this to his whole yeshiva. In Chochmas Torah, I forgot his thesis. He has a kolov, the famous. He said, I'm a student of his, and I know whenever he said Zukt, he says Eliyahu Hanavi. Rebbe Nachman said that when we were in Shir sometimes, in the middle of a Kabbalah or a deep thing, only his biggest students, we were there, he used to say, Ezdu, he's here. And they asked him, and he said, Eliyahu Hanavi is here with us. Rebbe Yaakov Shavuos was known as a tremendous Baal Hakadosh. And what did Rebbe Yaakov say? This year, Tovshin Ayin Vav, B'Shem Eliyahu Hanavi. B'Shem Eliyahu Hanavi, and Rebbe Nachman said over this story, and he said it's 100% emes the story. And there's no questions about it. And he said, who is this? Eliyahu Hanavi. What do we take from this? Let's go back to the beginning and we'll finish. To look at the seichel into everything Rebbe Nachman says. We just brought so much, and Bezat Hashem, hopefully to give a series, because this is just the beat of we're beating around the bush even. We go much deeper, and we will Bezat Hashem. Chevra, but to look in the seichel and wake up. Like, what does the Gemara say? How do you save through the Mechama Goy Mogig? How do we save through Chevra Mashiach in order to be Zech Mashiach? Torah, Kemilas Chasadim, and being with HaShem, Espoidadus, talking to Rebbe Shalom, thanking him, and being Shemer Abris, everything that we have to do, because this is what the Rebbe says. And we started off, because Achras Yemim is here, the Rebbe Shalom is doing all this, and you know what the Zohar says? Zohar says that even a child, when Mashiach is going to come, the child's going to know Mashiach's coming. He's going to know that Mashiach is coming very soon. Everybody feels it, everybody knows it. You see what's going on in the world. Why does Hashem do this? Because Hashem's not tricking us, He wants us to wake up, it's time. And with this kid now, I had 500,000 views in a week, this video. You know how many people wrote in my comments? I was looking because I like to see them. People, I was Shema Shabbos the first time in my life this week. I see that it's true. Because Rebbe Hashem is giving to us. And through Rebbe Yaakov Shavuos and Chavetz Chaim and all the rayos and all the things we just said, it's not just that we should know it. Knowing it is beautiful, and knowing it, it's that we take it to our heart and we start being pile ice and we start davening, we start learning, and we start doing what we have to do. Like the Rebbe Chaim Kanievsky, they asked Rebbe Chaim, what do you do? He said, there's nothing else. What the Gemara says, to eat 3 sudas in Shabbos. This is what the Gemara says. Gemara says, eat 3 sudas in Shabbos, at least a kazayas or a beil. A beil you should. The size of an egg. Of the first 2 sudas, the fachis, the amoitzi you have to eat. The sudas shlishas, b'diavad, the yoitzi also with mezainis. The sudas David HaMelech and Lava Malka. It's connected David HaMelech, the Mashiach, it's huge. Remember, Malach Lejen says what Suda Shabbos can't pile ice, and Lava Malka piles ice. That's the Helkait of Lava Malka. Rav Ram Fish was one of the Lama of Tzadikim Zatzal. He said that all his hasagas, his biggest hasagas was what he saw. He had hasagas always, but the biggest hasagas was when he got to Bam Lava Malka. It's not hard to sit down, sing a song for David HaMelech, light a ner. Light neirs. I tried to light a ner for Eliyahu Hanavi and David HaMelech. These little things, but these little things show the Rebbe Shalom. Rebbe Shalom sees that you want it. We should continue delving into this Indian because we're here, Chevra. Like we heard from Reb Chaim Shlita, the Godol Dor, Sasha Torah, he weighs everywhere, and if he says it, Bezat Hashem, we should be zeicher to the Gula Shlema, and we should be in the glory of the Rebbe Shalom, Bezat Hashem.